You are listening to the final Das Bundesliga show of the season here on the Lock Betting Podcast. You can follow the Lock Betting Podcast on Twitter at lockbetting.com. That's at lockbetting.com. That is the Twitter account for this podcast and for lockbetting.com. That's my premium pay service that is on the verge, just 1 week away from delivering its 120th consecutive month in a row of transparent track profit. 120 month, of course, means a decade, which means we have been undefeated every single month for an entire decade in sports betting. If you want to do your due diligence, you can see all the spreadsheets posted on the lockbetting.com website. Or if you want to do some very quick research, just look at the pinned tweet on the Lock Betting Twitter account at lockbetting.com. The pinned tweet is always the P&L from the previous month, and at the moment you can see the month of April. It's not just a case of verifying the fact that we have the profit. You can look at the type of bets that we do. We have not got there with shortcuts and monopoly money, such as 5-star, 5-unit plays, 10-unit maxes, 20-unit whales, 25-unit diamond plays, 50 units play of the year, which are not just once a year, they're like every single week. So no, we haven't done any of that nonsense. We've got there in a very sensible way, and we get there every single month, or at least we have done for the last 10 years, with 120 months in a row of consecutive transparent profit about to be logged in a week's time. So let's move on with this edition of Das Bundesliga show. As I said, the final one of the season. We are going to be looking at 7 games here on this show. And we start with Cologne hosting Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich need a huge favour from Mainz as they travel to Dortmund in order to have any chance of winning the league. But first and foremost, they need to get their own win here in order to put that pressure on Dortmund at least. They are the 4-11 favourites to pick up that win. It's 5-1 on the draw. And it's 13-2 here on Cologne. This is the type of game where you could honestly see Bayern Munich dropping points as they hear news that Dortmund score the first goal in their game, and therefore the incentive to win is reduced. And you could honestly see Bayern Munich, whilst needing to win and needing Dortmund to drop points, not doing their own part of the job here in this game. Therefore, my main selection here is going to be for both teams to score with the over 2.5 goals tacked on. Bayern Munich's defensive frailties were completely exposed last time out as they ended up losing 3-1 at home to Leipzig and blowing the title, meaning this appointment of Thomas Tuchel has been an absolute disaster, as he was appointed when they were in 3 competitions and has now blown 3 competitions. This Bayern team have conceded in 6 of their last 7 away games, while BTTS has also cashed in 6 of Cologne's last 7 outings. Now, if you just take both teams to score individually, that's a very, very juiced price. You would have to take 4-7 for that selection for both teams to score. So by tacking on the over 2.5 goals and just needing that one extra goal, you do move it to 4-6 minus 150. Still short, but a lot more respectable, I feel. And that's what we're going to go with here. We're going to take over 2.5 goals in BTTS at a price of 4-6 minus 150 here for this one. Up next, we look at the game here between Union Berlin and Werder Bremen, where Union Berlin are the 2-5 favourites. It's 4-1 on the draw, and it's 7-1 here on Werder Bremen. This is a absolutely massive game here for Union Berlin, one of the biggest games in their history, because only one of Union Berlin or Freiburg are going to make it through to the Champions League. And as we start the day, Union Berlin and Freiburg are locked together on 59 points, with Union Berlin having a better goal difference by 4 goals. So what's crazy in theory, and it won't happen, is that Union Berlin can actually win this game and still be overtaken if Freiburg pick up a 5-goal win away to Eintracht Frankfurt. That's obviously not going to happen, but it does show how tight things are. If Union Berlin have any kind of slip up here, then it allows Freiburg to overtake them. And we thought things were done and dusted a few weeks ago when Union Berlin won a head-to-head game against Freiburg, but obviously that isn't the case, because we enter this game with the two sides locked together once again, with Union Berlin last weekend, losing away to Hoffenheim, allowing Freiburg back in as they won their game 2-0 at home to Wolfsburg, even though the previous week it looked done and dusted with Union Berlin beating Freiburg by 4-2 at home. Had that game actually been a draw, Freiburg would have come into the final week with the advantage, and Union Berlin would have blown all the work and all the consistency that they've shown throughout the season. But that's not the case. Union Berlin have the advantage, and they just need to win this game to see it over the line. When you're looking at a lack of incentive, that could definitely apply here to Werder Bremen. They go into this game sitting in mid-table, sitting in 12th spot, so they are unlikely to provide a significantly stiff test here for Union Berlin. Well, at least they won't be massively motivated to do so. But they could still turn up here and play spoiler if they want to. I don't think that they will. I think Union Berlin get it over the line here. They've been strong at home throughout this season. They've been unbeaten at home across all competitions. And I think they can claim a victory that they need to secure a top 4 spot against the Bremen side, who have little to play for. It's worth noting, if you're looking to extract more value from this, the visitors have been good for a goal and have scored in 12 successive games. So adding on the BTTS does whack this one up to 5-2 plus 250, which is a significant jump up from the 4-11. Another way in here could be to tack on the over 2.5 goals instead. That doesn't mean that you're relying on Werder Bremen to make a contribution, but just that you need 3 goals here. That's even money plus 100. And I would lean towards that one as your selection here, as Union Berlin find their way into the Champions League by winning this game this afternoon. Up next, we look at the game here between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Augsburg, where Borussia Mönchengladbach are priced up as the 11-10 home favourites. It's 11-4 on the draw, and it's 21-10 here on Augsburg. A nothing game here, really, for both of these two teams. Augsburg are all but safe on 34 points. That leaves them 2 points clear of the relegation playoff position and 1 point clear of the relegation zone. But they have a significantly better goal difference than Schalke. So their biggest fear here would be that they end up in the relegation playoff position. That would need Stuttgart to pick up a win, and it would need Bochum to pick up a win whilst Augsburg lose. But if Augsburg can get 1 point because of their goal difference, that would allow them to escape relegation here. Bochum, they have a difficult game later on. They're at home to Bayer Leverkusen. And Stuttgart, they have a far more winnable game. They're at home to Hoffenheim. So they look likely to get out of this, while Bochum are likely to drop into the relegation, or remain, in the relegation playoff position. So, as I said, I don't see Augsburg getting dragged into it, but they will need a point to make sure that they are not dragged into it. And I do think they'll pick up that point here this afternoon. I think this will be a low-scoring game where Augsburg coming to this looking for the point that they need to stay up, and I think that they'll get it. I don't expect them to be too adventurous in this one, and the host, they come into this one in rotten form. They've got nothing to play for, and actually under 2.5 goals has landed in 5 of the last 7 games at home, which is not really like them, which is why you kind of see this under priced up at such a huge price. Under 2.5 goals is priced up here at 7-4, so you're getting nearly plus 200 on the under. But given the way I see this game playing out, with nothing to play for Mönchengladbach and them just wanting the season to be over, and Augsburg not really wanting to take any risks and coming here probably looking for just a point, I don't see this game being very explosive and entertaining. So in fact, under 2.5 goals at close to plus 200 does provide you with some significant value here for this game. Up next, we look at the most important game of the day. It's Borussia Dortmund at home to Mainz. A win for Dortmund means they are the champions of the Bundesliga, completing the absolute meltdown as a result of Thomas Tuchel coming to Bayern Munich. They are the overwhelming favourites to get that win. They're at 1-6, minus 600 to win this game. And they're actually at minus 700 to win the league today. It's 8-1 on the draw, and it's 14-1 here on Mons. I like to make a case here for Mons because we do need Bayern Munich to win the league for several futures, but I can't. And it's forgivable as well for Borussia Dortmund because they are about to cash us 2 futures selections today as well to win the league without Bayern, and the double down on that play as we resume from the World Cup, where they were priced out at a huge price with Leipzig as the favourites to do it. We still doubled down on Borussia Dortmund, thinking that they would be able to score more goals with Sebastian Haller actually returning, and with some of their younger players at the start of the season not really making a major contribution. I did see a huge improvement from Dortmund, but I did not see improvement to the extent where they would be 100% at home after the World Cup and they would be able to actually challenge for the title. Therefore, it's completely pointless opposing them at home. They're unbeaten in 7 games and have won 5 of those, including 4 wins by at least a 2-goal margin. They are 100% at home since the World Cup resumed, and they can lift the title here with a win against Mainz, who have nothing to play for and have lost their last 4 games by an aggregate scoreline of 13-3. So not only do I think that Borussia Dortmund are going to win this title, I think it's going to be done comfortably. I think it's going to be done with minimal drama when it comes to looking at the Bayern Munich score and paying attention to what the 2 teams are doing head to head. I don't think that's going to factor in. I think they're going to go out in front, and I think they're going to comfortably win the Bundesliga title today. Previously, this team have coped with pressure poorly, and their away record this season shows you, or the away run at this season shows you, that they've struggled through that pressure even this season. It's not been a case of this being a different Borussia Dortmund, but at home they've certainly been a different Borussia Dortmund. They have not crumbled under any pressure at all, and they have been a goal-scoring machine, and therefore there is absolutely no reason to oppose them today. I'm going to take Borussia Dortmund -2 on the Asian handicap at line as my selection here. That's the price. That's priced up at 7-10. -2.25 is the 10-11 to 11 line, where you need Borussia Dortmund to win by 3 goals in order to cash the selection. And if they win by 2 goals, you lose half your stake. Here, you get your full stake returned if they win by 2 goals. You still need them to win by 3 in order to cash, but you get your full stake returned if they win by 2 goals. And this selection is available at 7-10 here, as I expect Borussia Dortmund to run right here on this Mons team. Mons have conceded exactly 3 goals in 3 of the last 4 contests, and 2 of those were actually 3-0 defeats. So I think a similar type of scoreline here for Borussia Dortmund will take place. Dortmund coming to this one, as I mentioned, unbeaten in 7 games, but they've won 5 of those and they've scored 24 goals in the process. Sebastian Haller has 5 goals in his last 3 appearances. So everything here for me points to Borussia Dortmund winning comfortably and lifting the Bundesliga title this evening. So Borussia Dortmund -2 will be my selection here for this one. Up next, we move on to the game here between Frankfurt and Freiburg. This is a game where Freiburg will probably need to win by 5 or 6 goals to get into the Champions League. They are actually the 2-1 underdogs here to win it. It's 5-4 here on Eintracht Frankfurt, and it's 14-5 here on the draw. This is a difficult one to call because I just don't think that Frankfurt are going to be invested here in this game. This is a look-ahead spot for them as they have the German Cup final next weekend, and they've been pretty dialed out for a while when it's become clear they've not been able to secure European football via their league position. Freiburg is more important to them, therefore they're definitely a live dog here. I would have had them as a favourite. They've won 3 of the last 5 Bundesliga games, and they know they need 3 points here to put some pressure on Union Berlin and probably need a 5 or 6 goal swing in order to actually make the Champions League. The hosts have lost half of their home games to the top 7 this season, and as I mentioned, they have absolutely nothing to play for. Therefore, Freiburg are definitely a live dog here in this spot. My official lean is going to be to take Freiburg in the draw no bet market. So if this is a draw, you end up pushing this selection, and that is a plus money selection at 6-5, plus 120 here for Freiburg, the team who need to win this game to win this game, and that's going to be your pick here for this one. Up next, we move on to what is a very important game at the bottom of the table. It is a must-win game for Bochum as they look to get themselves out of relegation trouble. Bochum are the 12-5 underdogs, though, to win it. It's 3-1 on the draw. and Bayer Leverkusen are the 10 to 11 favourites. I'll definitely be interested in taking Bochum to avoid a defeat here, because there isn't too much incentive for Bayer Leverkusen other than to stay in the Europa Conference League position. Now, it's been debated from around Europe as to whether teams actually even want to play in the Europa Conference League. Well, I think we'll find out what type of effort that Leverkusen put in here, or what their team selection is here for this game. I think ultimately it's a gamble to go either way and try to guess if Leverkusen are invested in Europa Conference League or not invested in Europa Conference League, and who has the bigger incentive here. Obviously, Bochum's is clear. They need to stay in the league. But I think taking goals here would be the best way to go. There have been goals at both ends in 7 of Bochum's last 8 games, and they've only failed to score in 2 of the last 14, while both teams to scores cashed in by Leverkusen's last 3 Bundesliga fixtures. So I do feel that could be a way to go here. BTTS is a juiced selection for this game. Therefore, we would have to tack on the over 2.5 goals to get more value. BTTS is at 1 to 2, but if you tack on the over 2.5 goals, it does bring the selection to the price of 7 to 10. Still juiced, but again, more value here. Bochum are the team in desperate need of points, and they've fared well against the league's big guns at home this season. They've beaten RB Leipzig, they've drawn against Dortmund, and they should have enough to see off a Bayer Leverkusen team who have wished 1 win in their last 5 away games in all competitions, especially if Bayer Leverkusen are not invested in qualifying for the Europa Conference League. As I said, that is a gamble. That is just you taking a guess. For me, I would think that Bochum would be capable of avoiding a defeat here, but I also feel that this is a game where goals is the safest play, and we're going to go for over 2.5 goals with BTTS cashed on as our main selection here for this one. It's worth noting that if Bayer Leverkusen do slip up, they can be overtaken by Wolfsburg if Wolfsburg win their game. And in fact, if Bayer Leverkusen lose their game and Wolfsburg pick up just a point, then they will go level on points. They will be locked together, level on points and level on goal difference if Leverkusen just lose by a single goal. If they lose by 2 goals and Wolfsburg simply avoid a defeat, then they can overtake them. As for Eintracht Frankfurt, we talked about earlier, having no reason to really put forth an effort, they can actually leapfrog both of those teams, but they would need a significant 6-goal swing in order to do so. So maybe it's a little bit unjust to say that they have absolutely nothing at all to play for on the final day when they can swing it round. Wolfsburg, they play at home to Hertha Berlin, but I've not got that game on my list to cover because they are significant favourites to get the win there at the price of 2 to 7 minus 350. So the final game I'm going to cover here is RB Leipzig at home to Schalke. Now, if Schalke lose this game, they are relegated. The only thing going in their favour is the fact that RB Leipzig, as a result of winning away to Borussia Dortmund last week, are secure in 3rd position. So they cannot drop any lower than 3rd. They cannot get any higher either. And therefore, that could open the door up for Schalke. Leipzig are still the 8 to 15 favourites to win it. It's 19 to 5 on the draw. And it's 4 to 1 here on Schalke. For me, this is going to be a game that has goals, whether it be RB Leipzig putting forth an effort in front of their home supporters in the final home game and winning this game comfortably, or whether it be Schalke chasing after the win. This is going to be a game that's end-to-end, and I do think it will deliver goals. RB Leipzig have won each of their last 4 meetings with Schalke, and all of those wins have actually been by 3 goals or more. So they've been able to actually win, and they've been able to destroy this team, and they would have been single-handedly able to cash the over. Schalke coming to this one having failed to score in 6 of their 9 trips since the winter break, but they have shipped 14 goals across their last 4 away games, and they will be forced to chase a result here in this game. Nothing but a win gets Schalke out of this situation because their goal difference is terrible. They are on minus 34. Now, if Bochum lose and Schalke do pick up a draw here, they will be able to overtake Bochum because their goal difference is minus 35, but only overtake them in terms of getting into the relegation playoff position. So they will give themselves some hope of survival, as they will have to play that playoff game. And I think if you offered Schalke that at the start of the day, they will take it. But I think their record here against RB Leipzig suggests that they won't get anything from this game. I don't think that they'll get the point they need. I think that it's a thin hope if you're relying on RB Leipzig not being bothered about this game, because they finish up in front of their home supporters. It has been a season where they have somewhat underachieved, because if you're looking at their points tally of 63 points, they would be thinking that if they had 7 more points, they could be joint top with Dortmund going into this game. And with 19 wins from 33, drawing 6 times and losing 8, you could definitely say that RB Leipzig slipped up and lost their opportunity to capitalise on what has been a poor season from Bayern, only delivering 68 points. It's a season where Bayern Munich only won 20 games out of 33, which means 13 out of 33 games they did not win, drawing 8 and losing 5. And therefore, that was a big opportunity for Leipzig to actually challenge for the title this season. So they'll be disappointed, and I think they'll be looking to finish strong. I think they'll end up winning this game, and I do think Schalke will be relegated this afternoon. Closing out with your lock here on the show. For our futures picks, we desperately need Mons to turn up today and to deliver a performance. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. Borussia Dortmund have been just far, far too strong, especially since they resumed from the World Cup. They have been 100% at home and have one of the strongest home records in Europe. Just have a look at this home record. They have played 16 home games this season. This will be their final one, their 17th game. Although Union Berlin are the team who are undefeated at home, Borussia Dortmund have won 14 of their 16 games. They've drawn 1 and lost 1, and they have scored 53 goals and have conceded 15. They have picked up 43 of their points at home with a plus 38 goal difference, and they come up here against the Mons side, who have absolutely nothing to play for. I believe this is going to be a massacre. I believe this is going to be a comfortable win. The only way it isn't comfortable is if there is some nervousness here for Borussia Dortmund, or they're looking to conservatively just get over the line. But even if that's the case, I still think they'll win by a 2-goal margin. And if they win by a 2-goal margin, you're still able to push the lock selection here on the show. The lock here for this show is going to be Borussia Dortmund -2 on the Asian handicap line. This pushes if they win by 2, but cashes if they win by 3 goals or more. I think that they're going to win comfortably, and this lock is available at the price of 7 to 10. This Mons side have conceded exactly 3 goals in 3 of their last 4 Bundesliga games, and 2 of those were actually 3-0 defeats. This Borussia Dortmund team are unbeaten in 7 games coming into this one. They have won 5 of those games, including 4 wins by at least a 2-goal margin. This Mons side have lost their last 4 games by an aggregate scoreline of 13-3, and Dortmund have scored 24 goals in their last 7 matches, in the process of winning 5 of those. And Sebastian Haller, who I mentioned earlier, he comes into this one with 5 goals in his last 3 appearances. We didn't actually mention his to score anytime price. Sebastian Haller to score anytime here and put the cherry on this cake is available at 10 to 11 -110. That's a bet I like here as well. But your lock here for this show goes against what we need in the futures market, because realistically it's not going to happen for us. That is going to be a losing future, and it's Borussia Dortmund -2 on the Asian handicap line, and that is available at the price of 7 to 10. That's it for this season for Das Bundesliga show. Good luck with all of your bets as always, and thanks for listening.